So for the theme Chronicle, I've been running this list, but while we're here, we might as well make a few adjustments. Or should we? No, actually, I think I have a lot of the right ratios, but I forgot to put in one card. This one. Beginning of the End. This card is pretty solid for what my deck is kind of trying to do here, so... Either one or a two of, and then we have to cut some cards to fit it in. Well, easy, we can cut one of them, okay. And bam. Something about like this. I think the monster to spell trap ratio is about right. So there are two different win cons in this deck, and of course we have bad matchups, like Orchist is not the best matchup unless they like max CS and we can achieve deck out. Because part of my deck out strategy is to summon the zombie vampire, and the zombie vampire helps us out by sending the top 4 cards from both players' decks to the graveyard, which is almost like discarding an entire hand, almost, so it's about the same. And then the easiest way is to summon around like 15 times, just 15 special summons, and then we activate card destruction, and that's pretty much game. Well, give or take a few summons, because hand traps like Ash Blossom, Nibiru, whatever. And this extra deck might need some use, or some updating. Lancelot, I don't think it'll really come up. I don't know. There's probably some really good generic that I'm forgetting about, but for now, just because I want to have something to do with my 7s, I'll take Diablosis. And Hope is probably not completely necessary, but the main idea here is we're going to summon like relatively high stat monsters, like for example Danger Nessie, Thunderbird, Bigfoot, and I believe Jackalope actually has a good enough stat line to trigger this virus, so ideally you want to be triggering, like for example on Eradicator Epidemic Virus, and then a full force virus or a deck devastation virus. So I think deck devastation was probably the better one in the sense that it destroyed a lot of hand traps. Like this destroys Ash Blossom and this one does not, but it depends on what you're playing, I guess. But if we're looking at just like in general, the best virus is actually just always going to be Eradicator Epidemic Virus. And this is basically like a completely insane card, actually. It's like Harpy's Feather Duster, but instead of dusting the field, you're dusting your opponent's hands and their draws, which is pretty nutty. And you do get to see your opponent's entire hand whenever you activate a virus and every card they draw for 3 turns, so that's pretty cool, pretty nice, pretty useful. But yeah, the general idea, just summon big boys, and then we'll snap our opponent's hands. Even if they max C, if we resolve one of these, they might still not be able to play. But for the maxi deck out, we have other strategies as well. So all we need to do is we need to dig until we find, like, for example, a Dark Grepher. So we can go ahead and special summon Dark Grepher, and then we can go like Topological Bomber Dragon. Speaking of which, for that deck out, I remember now, that's what I should put in. It's curious, but Decode Tucker is here for a contingency plan kind of thing for like one of these 2 viruses. There's some situations where it comes up, but whatever. Actually, we could cut down the number of Ceruli as well, like maybe to 2, and then figure out something with that. If Cerule's not as consistent, we could honestly bump it down to 1 or 0, depending on how we're feeling. But the benefit with Ceruli being at 3 is it's good against Maxi in a certain way, because Nibiru actually is only available on in the main phase. So once we go to the end phase and we have Topological Bomber Dragon and we have Samsara Lotus, then Nibiru is not active. But actually, now that I'm remembering, Cerulean actually does get destroyed, which is unfortunate. So it won't protect us against Imperm still, but we'll be fine against like an Effect Veiler. As long as our opponent doesn't have Impermanence, I guess we can deck them out by forcing them to draw till they deck out with Samsara Lotus, Topological Bomber Dragon, which isn't as good as Tiger with Samsara Lotus. But I mean, it can get the job done if our opponent isn't playing the out to it, which might happen more often than you think. But if you're going for it, I guess you could throw in like 3 Tiger, 1 Lotus, and a bunch of stuff like Dark World Dealing and trying to activate stuff like Mothman, Card Destruction. Try to bait your opponent into using Maxi so you can set up like, I don't know, putting Cerulean to their field probably, and then having Lotus loop with King Tiger. So that's the general idea. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video.